Well, here to react is none other than Judge Jeanine Pirro, of course, D.C. U.S. Attorney. Judge, this is a huge deal. Americans, I think, had begun to think this would never be solved. This case would never be, people would never feel good about this because of what happened. Explain the key piece of information in your mind that cracked this case.
Well, Americans had a right to feel that this case would never be solved because it was clear that the Biden administration did not make this a priority. Within a couple of months of the finding of these pipe bombs, they pulled agents off this case. When President Trump came in, he made a decision that he was going to reinvigorate the investigation. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino made a decision that we were going to look at this, reanalyze evidence. And what I said there was clear. 3 million pieces of data, and we had to find the commonality. We had to find what was common when you had a pipe bomb made of a pipe, end caps, wires that were red and black, as well as a 9-volt battery and some. There was also
these
some
are common items.
These are very common.
You find them around
items.
The house, but
for example, there were end caps that we had to analyze. 233,000 of those end caps were sold. We had to, the FBI, to their credit, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino did an incredible job. All of the agents did. They looked at every one of these end caps, found out who bought them, and tried to figure out who was the common person with the end caps, with the pipes.
Cell phone pings.
Cell phone pings that connected with the defendant walking along that area with the video that we had. When we had the pings, when we realized that his cell phone is pinging exactly where he's walking, we knew we had someone. But we didn't stop there. We had to get all of his receipts. He's been buying these equipment, this kind of equipment, since 2019. And by the way, this is a guy who kind of has a very low-key
profile
life. Yes, he lives with his mother, his family.
Bail bondsman office.
Bail bondsman that his father owns. He does very little. But this investigation was reinvigorated. There was a determination here, and I have never seen agents work around the clock. With prosecutors from my office, every time they found a piece of evidence, we would get the search warrant. And make no mistake, we're going to take this case across the finish line. This is solid, Laura, as solid as they get.
Mark Warner was watching the press conference today, Senator Warner, and he seemed to kind of downplay the importance of this. I think we have the soundbite. Let's watch.
It kind of makes me, looking at this crowd, doing a victory lap when all the senior FBI officials across all key divisions have been fired for political purposes. It's a little rich that they're saying they're American safer. How much earlier could we have caught this guy if resources hadn't been diverted?
How much earlier? Well, maybe he should talk about the fact that the Biden administration had this. That's how much earlier, Senator. You had 4 years to solve it, and you didn't. So I don't want to hear this nonsense from the Democrats. This case was solved because of President Trump and this administration making it a priority. And, Laura, the well-being of any society depends upon whether or not people feel safe. And people feel safe when we do and we will make the criminal accountable. And that's what we did. No one else did that. So don't allow politics to enter into this, other than if he wants to talk about Biden.
I mean, that was just
dumb.
A stupid comment. He usually doesn't make comments that are that stupid, but that was pretty stupid. Yeah. What else do we know about Brian Cole? I mean, neighbors say that he liked to walk his Chihuahua dog, I guess.
Yeah.
He had a dog. We
surveilled him.
2013 Virginia high school graduate.
Right.
I guess did not, as far as we know, didn't go to college. But do we know anything else about his social media habits or his political affiliation? Anything?
Look, what I can tell you is that he was always wearing his headphones. He would take his dog out. He'd go to the 7-Eleven. He was very, as you say, low-key, low-profile. There wasn't a lot going on. His closest friends are his family. He lives with his mom and his sisters. He would go to work for a few hours a day. His father had a bail bondsman company. And he was just a very low-key person that you would never expect.
Friends?
Not a lot of social media. No, not a lot. No.
Any priors or prior
No
arrests?
priors. No.
So I mean, if I see this, I think someone who lived a lot online, maybe didn't have a big social circle.
You're right. You're right. He's that quiet individual that you would never imagine could put a pipe bomb, put it together. And by the way, when we
You
went
learn
in
that
this
on the
morning,
internet, by the way. You don't learn that usually in a book.
But when the FBI went in this morning, they found a lot of other products and pieces for pipe bombs.
Like what?
Other pipes, other wires, other timers. He was into this, very much into this.
Judge, when you think about the legal obstacles that have been thrown at this administration, whether the challenge to the National Guard in D.C., the D.C. Appeals Court today gave not a ruling on the merits, but it wasn't bad news for the administration on the National Guard question. I think that's going to get overturned. The district court saying he has to pull the National Guard out.
Yeah.
But is it surprising to you that there has been such pushback from the Democrats on the law fighting aspect of this, crime fighting aspect?
What's surprising to me, Laura, is that when we came here, the president's mission was to make D.C. safe and beautiful again. We have, as a result of the surge, there's been over 6,700 arrests, almost 700 weapons taken off the street. The homicides have been reduced by 50, 60%. Carjackings, robberies, crime is down. Who doesn't want a peaceful place to live, to have a family, to go to work, to have a business? So when Democrats push back on that issue, it's all about politics and ideology and power. Everyone in Washington that I come across is grateful for the fact that the president has brought in law enforcement from all over the country. And you know what? Today I was at a memorial for Sarah Beckstrom. God bless that young woman. She was a true patriot. She answered the call for people she didn't even know, Laura. And we will continue to fight the fight to make D.C. safe.
On that Afghan National Guard shooting, the Daily Beast is reporting that Rahmanullah Lakhwanal was blackmailed by the Taliban. A hit squad threatened to murder his family in Afghanistan if he didn't open fire on troops in D.C. Do you know anything about that Daily Beast
I know nothing
report?
about that, but let me explain something to you. Conspiracy theories seem to abound lately. My job in prosecuting him is to follow the evidence and to make sure that the evidence and the law are explained to a jury that will then make a decision. This is another solid case. We've got solid cases, solid evidence. We're protecting the people of the district. Both the president and Attorney General Pam Bondi have made it very clear what our charge is, and we are following through on it. And God bless the men and women in law enforcement. They have no reservation or hesitation about getting the job done, and they're doing it. And they ought to kiss the ground that the president decided to make D.C. safe again, because this place was wild. Wild.
No, I've lived here for a long time. It was safe for a while, and then it got much more dangerous.
The fourth highest murder rate 2 years ago in the country.
Unacceptable. Back to the pipe bomb suspect. Do we think he acted alone? Do we think he's a lone wolf or connections to other organizations?
The investigation continues, and we're still, in the beginning of all this. But, it's something that we certainly will continue to look toward. But right now, he seems to be it. But if anyone has any information they want to call the FBI, then we are certainly, looking forward to receiving it. Our job right now is, when you indict a case or when you charge, the evidence gathering does not end. It continues right up until the day of trial.
Any sense that he was planning anything else?
No sense at this point.
Well, Judge, you're doing an unbelievable job, and I know you left New York, you left Fox, to go into the belly of the beast in D.C., and you get a lot of grief for it, but the results speak for themselves.
I think so.
And
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Laura.
You're an American hero, Judge. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.